Imagine this: you've built an empire, amassed unimaginable wealth, and achieved every dream you've ever chased. You're at the top of the world, surrounded by luxury, power, and admiration. But one day, you wake up to a crushing realization: the one thing that truly matters, the one person who made your life worth living, is gone. And it's all your fault. This is the story of a man who had it all, only to lose the one thing he never knew he needed. A billionaire who discovered his true love too late, and now he'll stop at nothing to win her back. But here's the question: can love truly be reclaimed once it's lost? Or are some mistakes irreversible, no matter how much money or power you have? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only get the answer to that burning question, you'll also uncover the shocking twists, emotional revelations, and life-changing lessons hidden within this unforgettable tale. Let's talk about you for a moment. Why are you here? What drew you to this story? Maybe you've experienced a love that slipped through your fingers. Or perhaps you're searching for answers about what it truly means to fight for someone. Whatever the reason, I can promise you this: you're not just here to watch a story unfold. You're here to feel something, to connect, to reflect, and maybe even to heal. This isn't just a story about a billionaire and his lost love. It's a mirror held up to all of us, asking the hard questions about sacrifice, regret, and the lengths we're willing to go for the people we love. And trust me, by the time this video ends, you'll be asking yourself, what would I do in his shoes? Now, let's set the stage. Meet Alexander Kane, a self-made billionaire whose name is synonymous with success. From the outside, his life is the stuff of dreams: private jets, sprawling mansions, and a fortune that seems limitless. But beneath the surface, there's a void, an emptiness that no amount of money can fill. And then there's Emma, the woman who once held his heart. She's not just any woman. She's the kind of person who lights up a room with her presence, whose kindness and strength leave an indelible mark on everyone she meets. Their love story was once the stuff of fairy tales, but somewhere along the way, Alexander lost sight of what truly mattered. He chose ambition over love, success over connection, and now he's paying the price. But here's where things get interesting. Just when Alexander thinks he's hit rock bottom, he discovers something that changes everything: a secret so profound, so life-altering, that it reignites a fire within him. He realizes that Emma wasn't just his true love. She was his soulmate, the missing piece of his puzzle. And now he's determined to win her back, no matter the cost. But it won't be easy. Emma has moved on, and she's not the same woman she once was. She's stronger, wiser, and more guarded than ever. And then there's the mysterious new figure in her life. Someone who seems to have everything Alexander lacks: humility, compassion, and a genuine connection with Emma. The stakes are high, the tension is palpable, and the question looms: can Alexander truly change, or is he destined to repeat the same mistakes? As we dive deeper into this story, you'll witness the raw, unfiltered emotions of a man who's willing to risk it all for a second chance. You'll see the lengths he'll go to prove his love, the sacrifices he's willing to make, and the battles he'll fight both within himself and against the world. But here's the thing: this isn't just Alexander's journey. It's yours too. Because at its core, this is a story about redemption, about the power of love to transform even the most broken of heart. It's about asking yourself, what would you do if you were given a second chance? Would you take it, or would you let fear and pride stand in your way? But before we go any further, let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why some love stories endure, while others crumble? What is it that separates the relationships that stand the test of time from those that fade away? Is it fate, or is it something deeper, something within us that we have the power to control? These are the questions we'll explore as we unravel Alexander and Emma's story. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll have a newfound understanding of what it truly means to love and be loved. Now, here's where I need you to stay with me. Because just when you think you've figured out how this story ends, I'm going to hit you with a twist you never saw coming. A revelation so shocking, so game-changing, that it will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love, forgiveness, and second chances. But I'm not going to give it away just yet. You will have to keep watching to find out. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and prepare yourself for a roller coaster of emotions. Because this isn't just a story, it's an experience. And by the time it's over, you'll be left with one burning question: what would you do if you were given a second chance at love? The answer might just change your life. To truly understand Alexander Kane, we need to rewind the clock and step into the world he once inhabited, a world where ambition was his driving force and love was a distant second. Born into modest beginnings, Alexander clawed his way to the top with relentless determination. His rise to billionaire status wasn't just a story of hard work, it was a saga of sacrifice. He gave up friendships, family time, and even parts of himself to build his empire. But the one sacrifice that haunted him the most was Emma. She had been his anchor, the one person who saw through the walls he built around himself. Their love was passionate, all-consuming, and real. But as Alexander's empire grew, so did his ego. He began to take her for granted, assuming she would always be there, waiting in the shadows while he chased his dreams. He didn't see the cracks forming until it was too late. One day, she was gone, leaving behind nothing but a note and a void he couldn't fill. Emma's departure wasn't just a breakup. It was a seismic shift in Alexander's life. For the first time, he felt the weight of his choices. He tried to drown his sorrows in work, in parties, in distractions, but nothing could erase the memory of her smile, her laugh, the way she made him feel alive. Years passed, and Alexander became a shell of the man he once was. His empire thrived, but his soul withered. Then, one fateful evening, he stumbled upon an old photograph of them together. It was a candid shot, taken during a trip to the coast. Emma's hair was windswept, her eyes sparkling with joy, and Alexander's arm was wrapped around her, a rare moment of unguarded happiness. That photo triggered something in him, a longing, a regret, a determination to make things right. But how do you win back someone you've hurt so deeply? How do you prove you've changed when your past is littered with broken promises? Meanwhile, Emma had built a life of her own, a life far removed from the glitz and glamour of Alexander's world. She had moved to a small coastal town, where she opened a bookstore and found solace in the simplicity of her new routine. But Emma wasn't just running away from Alexander, she was running toward herself. She had spent years trying to fit into his world, molding herself to his needs, and in the process, she had lost sight of who she was. Now, she was rediscovering her passions, her independence, and her worth. Yet, despite her newfound peace, there were moments when she thought of him, moments when the memories of their love would creep in, unbidden and unwelcome. She had no intention of going back, but the past has a way of resurfacing when you least expect it. Enter Daniel, a local artist who had become a close friend and perhaps something more to Emma. Daniel was everything Alexander wasn't: grounded, humble, and deeply in tune with his emotions. He had his own scars, his own story of love and loss, which made him uniquely empathetic to Emma's journey. Their connection was slow and steady, built on trust and mutual respect. But just as their relationship began to deepen, Alexander re-entered Emma's life, determined to win her back. His arrival was anything but subtle. He showed up at her bookstore one rainy afternoon, drenched and desperate, with a bouquet of her favorite flowers in hand. The sight of him stirred something in Emma: anger, yes, but also a flicker of the love she had tried so hard to bury. She didn't know whether to scream at him or hug him, and that confusion terrified her. As Alexander tried to navigate this new dynamic, he found himself facing obstacles he hadn't anticipated. Emma wasn't the same woman he had left behind. She was stronger, more guarded, and unwilling to let him back into her life without a fight. And then there was Daniel, who seemed to embody everything Alexander had failed to be. The tension between the two men was palpable, a silent battle for Emma's heart that neither was willing to lose. But this wasn't just a love triangle. It was a clash of values, of lifestyles, of what it means to truly love someone. Alexander's wealth and power meant nothing in this new world Emma had created, and for the first time in his life, he felt powerless. But the story doesn't end there. Beneath the surface of this emotional tug-of-war lies a deeper mystery, one that neither Alexander nor Emma is fully aware of yet. It begins with a series of anonymous letters, delivered to both of them at seemingly random intervals. The letters are cryptic, filled with riddles and half-truths, hinting at a secret that could change everything. Who is sending them? What do they want? And how do they know so much about Alexander and Emma's past? As the letters pile up, the tension mounts, and the stakes grow higher. It becomes clear that this isn't just about love. It's about uncovering the truth, no matter how painful it might be. And then there's the subplot of Alexander's empire, which is beginning to show cracks of its own. A rival company led by a ruthless entrepreneur with a personal vendetta against Alexander is closing in, threatening to dismantle everything he's built. This external pressure forces Alexander to confront the consequences of his past actions, not just in his personal life, but in his professional one as well. The lines between love, ambition, and morality blur, leaving him questioning everything he thought he knew. Meanwhile, Emma finds herself drawn into this corporate battle in ways she never expected, forcing her to confront her own feelings about Alexander and the life they once shared. As the story unfolds, the layers of mystery and intrigue only deepen. What is the true nature of Alexander and Emma's connection? Is it love, or is it something more complicated? What role does Daniel play in this tangled web of emotions? And who's behind the anonymous letters, and what do they stand to gain from exposing the past? The answers to these questions are hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. But one thing is certain, the journey to find them will be filled with heartbreak, hope, and the kind of raw, unfiltered emotion that only comes from a love worth fighting for. So, stay with me, because this story is far from over. The best and the most shocking is yet to come. The tension between Alexander, Emma, and Daniel reached a boiling point one stormy evening, when the three of them found themselves unexpectedly thrown together at a charity gala in the coastal town. It was an event Emma had helped organize, a fundraiser for the local community center, and Daniel had been her date. Alexander, ever the opportunist, had secured an invitation at the last minute, determined to prove to Emma that he could be part of her world, not just the one he had built for himself. The atmosphere was electric, charged with unspoken words and lingering glances. Alexander watched from across the room as Emma and Daniel laughed together, their connection undeniable. It was a sight that cut deeper than he cared to admit, but it also fueled his resolve. He wasn't going to lose her again, not without a fight. But as the night wore on, something unexpected happened, a twist that no one saw coming. During the gala's silent auction, a rare first edition of Emma's favorite book was put up for bidding. It was a book that held special significance for her and Alexander, a relic from their shared past. Alexander, seeing an opportunity to win back a piece of her heart, placed a bid so high it stunned the room. But Daniel, quietly determined, matched it. The bidding war escalated, drawing the attention of everyone in attendance. Emma, caught in the middle, felt the weight of their rivalry pressing down on her. She didn't want to be a prize to be won, but the intensity of their competition made it clear that this was about more than just a book. It was about who deserved her, who understood her, who could give her the life she truly wanted. Just as the auctioneer was about to close the bidding, a stranger stepped forward, a woman with piercing green eyes and a confident demeanor. She placed a bid that dwarfed both Alexander's and Daniel's, leaving the room in stunned silence. Who was she, and why did she want the book so badly? The woman introduced herself as Clara, a journalist with a reputation for uncovering secrets that powerful people would rather keep hidden. She had been investigating Alexander's empire for months, digging into his past and uncovering a web of lies, betrayals, and hidden truths. The book, it turned out, was more than just a sentimental object. It was a key to a mystery that tied Alexander and Emma together in ways they never imagined. Clara's arrival sent shockwaves through the room, and her presence immediately shifted the dynamics of the story. She wasn't just an outsider. She was a disruptor, someone who had the power to unravel everything Alexander and Emma thought they knew about each other and themselves. Her motives were unclear, but one thing was certain: she wasn't there by accident. ASA. The gala came to an end. Claire approached Emma with a cryptic warning. "Be careful who you trust," she said, her voice low and urgent. "Not everything is as it seems." The words lingered in Emma's mind long after Claire had disappeared into the night. What did she mean? Was she referring to Alexander, to Daniel, or to someone else entirely? Emma's thoughts raced as she tried to make sense of the evening's events. Meanwhile, Alexander was grappling with his own demons. Claire's investigation threatened not only his empire but also his chance at redemption. If the truth about his past came to light, would Emma ever be able to forgive him? And what about Daniel, who seemed to be hiding secrets of his own? The lines between ally and adversary were blurring, and the stakes were higher than ever. The next morning, Emma received another anonymous letter, this one more unsettling than the last. It contained a photograph of her and Alexander from years ago, along with a single sentence: "The past always finds a way to catch up." The letter was unsigned, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Claire was behind it. She decided to confront Daniel, hoping he might have some insight, but their conversation only raised more questions. Daniel admitted that he had known Claire years ago, back when they were both struggling artists in the city. He claimed they had lost touch, but Emma couldn't ignore the flicker of unease in his eyes. Was he hiding something? And if so, what? Meanwhile, Alexander was scrambling to contain the fallout from Claire's investigation. He hired a team of lawyers and private investigators determined to stay one step ahead of her. But the deeper they dug, the more they uncovered not just about Alexander's past, but about Emma's as well. It turned out that their lives were more intertwined than either of them had realized, bound together by a secret that had been buried for years. The revelation was explosive, and it had the potential to change everything. But before Alexander could process what it meant, he received a call from Clara. She wanted to meet face to face, and she promised to bring proof of what she had discovered. The meeting was set for the following evening at a secluded location on the outskirts of town. Alexander knew it was a risk, but he had no choice. He had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. As the hours ticked down to the meeting, the tension in the story reached a fever pitch. Emma, torn between her feelings for Alexander and her growing connection with Daniel, found herself at a crossroads. She knew she couldn't keep running from the past, but facing it meant confronting truths she wasn't sure she was ready to hear. Daniel, meanwhile, was grappling with his own guilt and uncertainty. He cared deeply for Emma, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing in the way of something bigger, something more profound. And then there was Clara, the wild card in this already complicated equation. What did she really want? Was she a friend, a foe, or something in between? The night of the meeting arrived, and with it came a storm that mirrored the turmoil in the characters' lives. Alexander arrived at the designated location, a crumbling lighthouse on the edge of the cliffs, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. Claire was already there, waiting for him with a folder of documents in hand. But before she could speak, a figure emerged from the shadows: Emma. She had followed Alexander, determined to uncover the truth for herself. The confrontation that followed was explosive, filled with accusations, revelations, and raw emotion. But just as the truth began to come to light, a sudden noise interrupted them. Someone else was there, watching from the darkness. Who was it? And what did they want? The answer to that question would change everything, but it would have to wait. Because in that moment, the storm reached its peak, and the lighthouse was plunged into darkness. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience on the edge of their seats, desperate to know what happens next. The darkness inside the lighthouse was suffocating, broken only by the occasional flash of lightning that illuminated the tense faces of Alexander, Emma, and Clara. The sound of footsteps echoed ominously, growing louder as the mysterious figure approached. Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence: Daniel's. He stepped into the dim light, his expression a mix of guilt and determination. "I didn't want it to come to this," he said, his voice trembling. "But you all deserve to know the truth." Emma's heart sank as she realized that Daniel had been hiding something far more significant than she had ever imagined. He wasn't just a bystander in this story, he was a key player, someone with a personal stake in the secrets that were about to unravel. Daniel revealed that he had known Clara for years, long before he met Emma. They had been partners in a failed business venture, one that had left them both financially ruined and emotionally scarred. But their connection went deeper than that. Clara was Daniel's half-sister, a fact they had kept hidden to protect themselves from their estranged father, a powerful man with a dark past. Their father had been involved in a series of illegal dealings, some of which intersected with Alexander's empire. Daniel had come to the coastal town not just to start over, but to escape the shadow of his family's legacy. Meeting Emma had been a blessing, a chance to build something real and meaningful. But when Alexander reappeared, Daniel saw an opportunity to right the wrongs of the past, not just for himself, but for Clara and Emma as well. The documents Clara had brought with her contained evidence of a deal gone wrong, one that implicated Alexander in a scandal that had ruined countless lives. But there was more to the story. Buried within the papers was a revelation that left everyone speechless. Emma's father, a man she had believed to be a simple schoolteacher, had been involved in the same scandal. He had been a whistleblower, trying to expose the corruption, but he had disappeared before he could complete his mission. His disappearance had been ruled an accident, but the documents suggested otherwise. Emma's world shattered as she realized that her father's death might not have been an accident at all, and that Alexander, knowingly or not, might have played a role in it. Alexander was devastated. He had always prided himself on being a self-made man, someone who had risen above his circumstances through sheer willpower and determination. But now, faced with the possibility that his success had come at the expense of others, including the woman he loved, he was forced to confront the darker side of his ambition. "I didn't know," he said, his voice breaking. "I swear I didn't know." But the damage had been done, and the trust between him and Emma was hanging by a thread. Clara, ever the pragmatist, saw an opportunity to use the situation to her advantage. She proposed a deal. If Alexander agreed to come forward and expose the corruption within his empire, she would help him clear his name and protect Emma from the fallout. It was a risky move, one that could cost him everything, but Alexander knew it was the only way to truly redeem himself. Emma, torn between her love for Alexander and her need for the truth, made a decision that would change the course of their lives. She agreed to stand by Alexander, but only if he committed to making amends not just to her, but to everyone who had been hurt by his actions. It was a daunting task, but Alexander was willing to do whatever it took to win back her trust. Together, they began the long and difficult process of rebuilding, not just their relationship, but also the lives that had been shattered by the scandal. Daniel, realizing that he had been driven by his own pain and anger, stepped back, allowing Emma and Alexander the space they needed to heal. But before he left, he made a promise to Clara. They would work together to uncover the full truth about their father and ensure that justice was served. The story's climax came in the form of a press conference, where Alexander publicly admitted his mistakes and announced his plans to dismantle the corrupt practices within his empire. It was a bold and unprecedented move, one that earned him both praise and criticism. But for Emma, it was a sign that he was finally putting her first, that he was willing to sacrifice his pride and power for the sake of their love. The press conference also marked the beginning of a new chapter for Clara and Daniel, who had decided to join forces and continue their father's mission of exposing corruption. Their journey was far from over, but for the first time in years, they felt a sense of purpose and hope. As the dust settled, Emma and Alexander found themselves standing on the cliffs near the lighthouse, the same place where their journey had come to a head. The storm had passed, leaving behind a clear sky and a sense of calm. "I don't know what the future holds," Emma said, her voice soft but steady. "But I'm willing to find out if you are." Alexander took her hand, his eyes filled with gratitude and determination. "I'm all in," he replied. "For you, for us, for everything we've been through." It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a real one, filled with the promise of growth, forgiveness, and second chances. The final twist came in the form of a letter, delivered to Emma weeks later. It was from her father, written shortly before his disappearance. In it, he expressed his love for her and his hope that she would one day find the happiness she deserved. He also revealed that he had left behind a hidden journal, one that contained the full truth about the scandal and the people involved. The journal was found buried in the backyard of their old family home, a final gift from a father who had loved his daughter more than anything. Its contents would lead to further investigations, more revelations, and ultimately, a sense of closure for everyone involved. The story of Alexander and Emma is a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the courage to face the truth. It's a reminder that no matter how far we fall, we always have the ability to rise again if we're willing to do the work. The screen fades to black. The audience is left with a sense of hope and a question to ponder. What would you do for a second chance at love? The answer, as this story shows, might just change your life.